I don't like the YouTube copyright system. I do think it's antiquated. I think it's bullshit, but this is awesome, dude. Let's keep going. This is awesome. Hell yeah. We are moving on to Actual Justice Warrior. Apparently he's getting... Well, okay, so we haven't... I know I said I was taking Actual Justice Warrior off the roster. For those of you that have been watching J-Star for the longest, you'll remember. You'll remember when I cut him out of the roster, okay? But we're bringing him back just for one time and one time only, because apparently he's getting sued.
I miss every single opportunity as a YouTuber to open a video with one of those dramatic sides. You know, the thing that YouTubers do whenever they're about to do a public apology or when they're about to talk about something that impacts them personally, like the subject matter of this particular video. But I can never actually bring myself to do the side, let alone leave it in while I'm editing, because it's so fake and ridiculous and absurd. And it's honestly something that I've made fun of countless times, not just on this channel, but in my personal private life. But today, we do have some heavy subject matter. Today, I do want to talk to you guys about something.
Yeah, because you're so real, right? You're so real and non-performative, yo.
Has been weighing on me since February of this year, and that is the fact that Sinclair Media, one of the largest media companies in the United States of America, who actually has a presence in 40% of the households in this nation through their ownership of multiple local news affiliates across this country, has decided to file legal action against me, sue me for copyright infringement due to the fact that I covered a local news segment on Abigail Spanberger proposing 40+ new tax increases, again, back in February of this year. Now, a little bit of behind the scenes, since you guys don't really know how it works on the back end unless you're also a YouTuber, but when you make videos and you react and respond to clips and you actually transform them in a fair use way, that does not necessarily preclude you from getting copyright claimed by a bunch of different various media companies. Now, I'm of the opinion that many of these companies claim your clips because they don't think as a YouTuber you're going to be savvy enough, and hopefully you'll be intimidated.
Well, yeah, okay, but there's always a reason, though. There's always a reason, though, and if it's to the point that you're getting sued, man, I can't remember if I was watching him in February. What the fuck did you do, man?
Into not counter notificating them because
I mean, I don't know. Maybe it is bullshit. Maybe they're just like fishing with their lawyers. I don't know. Let's find out.
So essentially what these organizations like to do in general, again, not talking specifically about Sinclair Media, is steal the revenue from creators who use clips, even in a fair use way, of their particular content. And this is why I always tell people behind the scenes, and I personally always do the counter notification. And 99% of the time, it doesn't go beyond 1 or 2 counter notifications, because they realize that they have no claim on your content, and they're not going to push it to the point where they're going to take legal action. And on 2 occasions on this channel, I've actually received a copyright strike. And when you get a copyright strike, you can appeal that through YouTube system. And essentially that dares the other party to file a case against you in federal court or through another venue, which we'll talk about in just a little bit, in order to keep your video removed. And for the first time in the history of this channel, back in February of this year, this actually happened to me. And the legal notice, the actual complaint submitted to YouTube to keep the video taken down, was actually submitted in the form of this complaint against me for alleged copyright infringement. Now, I want to make something 100% clear to everybody out there in the audience. I believe that...
Yeah. I'll be right back. We'll get right back to... You know, I don't like the YouTube copyright system. I do think it's antiquated. I think it's bullshit, but this is awesome, dude. Let's keep going. This is awesome. Hell yeah.
And fully protected by fair use law and fair use case law. And basically, my defense is I didn't do nothing. This, false allegations and not facts.
False allegations and not facts.
But regardless about how I feel about this particular document, regardless about how I feel about these allegations, as the super mayor would call them, once this is submitted to YouTube, the video is taken down, and it is out of the hands of YouTube and the back and forth over there, and into the realm of a legal battle. Now, as of right now, as of this moment, the case has been dismissed. And the reason the case has been dismissed is because even though they went through the process of filing this paperwork in order to get my video taken down, which I absolutely despise them for, even if they had a good faith belief that I did infringe on their copyright, they didn't actually serve me. And by the way, I've not been hiding nor ducking a server nor anything of the sort. I've been right here at the location I submitted to them, but they appear to have not even bothered to do so, and this is likely due to the fact that the judgment they would get against me is incredibly small. Now, so the case is dismissed at this moment in time, but I want to make something 100% clear to everybody out there in the audience. It is dismissed without prejudice, meaning that within the next 3 years, if they decide to refile, I could be right back at square one, and if they actually serve me, I could be forced to appear before the Copyright Claims Board or in federal court. And again, I'm going to explain more of that in just a little bit, but as of right now, the case is dismissed, so that can go away. We're not talking about their claims or anything of the sort, because in reality, I don't want to give anything away in terms of strategy, because of course, I did consult with an attorney as soon as I was made aware of the fact that this claim existed, and yeah, I'm one of those play my cards close to the vest kind of characters. Now, some of you might be asking out there in the audience, you might have left a comment, if this happened in February, why didn't I tell you guys back in February? Now, the easy answer, the short answer, is when you talk to legal people, they tell you not to talk about the case when it's ongoing litigation, but it's actually a bit more than that, and if you guys are familiar with my feelings on crowdfunding campaigns, then you should already begin to approach the idea of why I didn't want to talk about this publicly, because in my opinion, I'm the one who decided to fight back on these particular claims. I'm the one who decided to essentially challenge them, to challenge me in a court of law, or again, before the Copyright Claims Board, which we will explain in just a little bit, everybody. Therefore, I assume the risk and I assume the responsibility, and I think it's actually quite dishonorable that when you do things like this, to pretend that you're similar to somebody who was hurt or damaged in some way due to no fault of their own. Again, I'm the one who could have dropped this earlier on, but I decided that fighting for my copyright rights was actually worthwhile.
So he deserves to have the fight of a true warrior, and that means to the death.
It's not the same thing as a medical emergency. It's not the same thing as losing your home in a natural disaster or something of the sort. Again, it would have been something that was through fault of my own. In addition to that, I will also point out that this is not filed in the traditional way that you guys might be familiar with. This is not an Ethan Klein versus Matt Hosniak or whatever the hell that guy's last name is situation where it ended up in federal court from the jump. They actually ended up filing this under what is called the Copyright Claims Board. And I'm not going to explain this beyond like the very rudimentary way that it needs to be explained, but essentially this is a smaller venue meant to essentially address copyright claims, and the case that was filed against me was filed under what is called a smaller claims designation, meaning that if I decided to fight the case in that particular venue, I would only be subject to a judgment of up to $5,000 with a couple of caveats, but again, for the purposes of this conversation, up to $5,000. Now, of course, I would be judged in this particular case by a tribunal of 3 judges that are supposedly experts on the issue of copyright, and I would not actually need to hire an attorney in the same way that I would if I were to fight this out in federal court. Again, if I chose to meet the charges in that particular venue, because if I were actually served, it would have been on me to decide if it was more advantageous to fight the case there or to opt out, thus challenging Sinclair Inc. to sue me in federal court, which of course would have exposed me to much more financial loss, but maybe strategically that might have been a better advantage for me. And the reason I'm being a bit ambiguous about this is because I don't want to reveal what I actually would have done if push came to shove, but the mere fact that I had a less financially damaging option on the table, in my opinion, means that crowdfunding, even if I thought this met the threshold for me to engage in that nonsense, was completely off the table, because once again, I would be making a choice to assume more risk, and it's immoral, in my opinion, for me to shift that risk onto you guys out there in the audience. But also, there's something else.
Yeah, and also, who's gonna donate to you? Like, what audience? Like, you have a lot of subscribers, and this video has gotten a lot of views. But make no mistake, Actual Justice Warrior, he gets like 20,000 views a video. Yeah, 15. Got up to 80 here. You got 100K for Anna Kasparian? Yeah, I mean, you put Anna Kasparian in the thumbnail, it's gonna... Oh, dude, he's doing the Mamdani strategy. Anyway.
That's absolutely crucial. And I'm getting a little bit personal right now. I'm not trying to get too emotional or anything of the sort, but this is something that you guys have heard me talk about on this channel before, here and there, when these kind of things come up. But basically, through different periods of my life, I've been broke, and I've been in some real crappy situations due to the fact that I had no money. I have talked about this before, but a couple of years before I was a YouTuber, I had found out that a relative of mine who did not live in the same state as me was actually in hospice care. And for those of you who are unaware, hospice is where they put you before you die. And I was so broke at that moment in time that I couldn't afford a plane ticket. And the family members that were dealing with that directly in the state where that was occurring, they were also financially strained due to medical bills. So essentially, what me and my family members in New York tried to do was jump in a car and drive down in order to try to see this relative before he passed away. And we did not make it, and the reason we didn't make it is because we didn't have the money in order to do so. And for me, that's something that I think about a lot. I've thought about it a lot over the course of the last dozen years, and it's one of the reasons why I'm incredibly grateful to you guys out there in the audience, because you guys just watching my videos essentially provide me with the opportunity and with the lifestyle at this moment in time that something like that not only never can happen to me again, but it means that I can be the person that I needed back then and essentially make sure that nobody I care about will go without in a situation like that. And I've actually had situations where I've had friends that were struggling financially, and again, due to your support, you guys out there in the audience just watching my videos and actually allowing me to be that person, I was able to cover that for them. So for me, I've been in a much lower point in my life in terms of finances that I don't think this was too big of a risk for me to take on. I mean, there's definitely impacts. A lot of people don't tell you this, but when you have pending litigation against you, a lot of things go awry. My wife and I decided that we were going to consider looking at houses, not necessarily trying to buy something, but maybe we want to leave New York City. Again, updates in the future, potential lifestyle changes and whatnot, we'll talk about another time. And one of the things I discovered during the process is that if you want to look at homes, you need what is called a pre-approval letter to be taken remotely seriously and to see certain homes. And yeah, it's actually incredibly difficult to get that when you have to check the box that you have ongoing litigation or pending litigation against you, because essentially that prevents you from being able to buy a home. There's also other situations, again, that I discovered over the course of this 90-day period, that this claim, even though it wasn't for a lot of money, just hanging over my head, was very much detrimental to me. And for me, even though I'm not really enjoying enduring stuff like that, the fact is that is nothing by comparison to the things that I've had to deal with, again, before I was a YouTuber. And as if I needed any more affirmation of that position, as I was coming back from Miami after this case was actually, dismissed in the courts, I ended up receiving an email from a member of the website. And I don't want to give too much personal information away, but essentially this person tried to cancel their membership back in April of this year, and he ended up being charged. And by the way, it was 100% his fault because he had 2 accounts on my website, and he canceled the account that did not have the paid membership. But he asked me if I could fix this for him, if I could refund him the money, and I did, because obviously I'm not trying to rob you guys out there in the audience. And he told me during the course of this email exchange, which by the way was totally unnecessary, that he was, overlooking his subscriptions due to the fact that he had a medical emergency either with himself or with his family. Again, not trying to blow up this guy's spot or anything of the sort. And in the course of these messages where he's talking about the very serious problems that he had, referencing them as a reason why, something that was totally unnecessary, he ends up apologizing to me. He ends up saying sorry that he can't continue supporting me. And I just want you guys to understand, the only perk that I offer to my members is early access to some of my videos. videos, all the content comes out for free, and yet this guy, who again was going through actual financial hardship, was apologizing to me due to the fact that he had to withdraw his membership. So I looked at his record, and I realized that he had been a member of my website paying $6 a month for 2 years. So 2 years, this guy never missed a payment, was supporting me, never contacted me, never asked me for anything, was fine with the perk of early access videos, and yet even though he had that strong record and he actively tried to cancel before he was charged in April, he was still apologetic to me, even though, again, he had nothing to apologize for. And for me, like, the fact that that happened right after this case was dismissed, that I had this exchange, that I realized, like, the kind of people, and by the way, it's not all of you, some of you, absolute scumbags, let's be 100% real, but some of you are so, like, good, like, honorable, noble, or, you know, I don't know what the right word is, but you're so appreciative of what I do. The idea of taking advantage of that for a situation that I put myself in, it's just a line that I can't cross. It's so dishonorable, so disrespectful to the relationship and to the lifestyle that you guys have allowed me to have. I can't abide by it. So yeah, that really ended up hitting me hard, like harder than it should have, because again, it's just a refund of like $12 and $6 monthly subscription.
Really
It was
nice,
no big deal
man.
to me financially, but the way that this guy came at it, I honestly, I 100% made the right decision not telling you guys. And if this is re-upped, if I end up having to face this either in front of the Copyright Claims Board or in federal court, I will not be asking for any assistance.
You just said this to 130,000 people
that go out of their way to contribute more when they don't have enough, rather than the people that are like, you know, sitting on the big stacks of cash that are just chucking money that they don't need to support guys like me. And it's just an absolute betrayal if I were to take advantage of you guys in that way. And I want to make something 100% clear. I'm not allergic to money. I sell website memberships not because I'm running a social experiment like other YouTubers pretend, where I'm trying to see if you guys sign up because something and I don't care about money. This is my job. This is what I do for a living. But the fact is, if somebody was in, you know, facing like legal litigation or something at a coffee shop down the street, they wouldn't expect you to cover for them in that scenario, especially if, again, in a way, you ended up putting yourself in that scenario, or they ended up putting themselves in that scenario.
You can save your applause. Now go on. I don't need anybody's help.
So overall, as of right now, as of this particular moment, we're good. Case is dismissed. Again, we'll have this hanging over the head of the channel for the next 3 years, but I don't think that this is actually going to be refiled again, if I'm being perfectly honest. And if it is refiled again, I think I will win on the merits of the case. Again, if I'm being perfectly honest, I'm highly confident, and a part of me is upset that they did not actually follow through because, you know,
I'll never have the chance to prove my strength against you.
You know what's funny is I made my wife watch Dragon Ball Z with me. I basically told her in the most abusive way possible that I'd leave her because it was really important to me. And all that ended up accomplishing was A, my wife did not like Dragon Ball Z, and B, I ended up getting all these Vegeta quotes stuck in my head. And by the way, some of them are very inspirational. But yeah, this is what I was thinking about when I was feeling in my down moments. What would Vegeta do in this scenario? And even though Dragon Ball Z is essentially a case study of Vegeta's pride leading to more devastating consequences for the entire planet, I still find it to be quite inspirational. Again, if I'm being perfectly honest. But seriously, guys, I do want to say thank you to everybody out there in the audience, or maybe not everybody, but the good ones out there in the audience, because even though I actively try to avoid fostering a parasocial relationship with you guys, certain times in my life where I've been feeling down and I've had a YouTube channel, I'll see a comment or get an email or something like that that kind of acts as a reaffirmation, that kind of keeps me going in that particular moment, and that is appreciated on this side of the camera, even if I don't acknowledge it maybe as much as I should. And although, again, I wasn't terrified that I'd lose everything to Sinclair Media, the fact is, this was a David and Goliath kind of situation. Like, this is a one-man operation right here, and they're one of the largest media companies in the entire country. They have in-house attorneys that, again, are dedicated to fighting these particular cases. In fact, if you look up Sinclair on the Copyright Claims Board, like case database, you'll find out that they're engaged in litigation against multiple parties simultaneously. And again, I'm a one-man operation to reiterate that point. And I'm no biblical scholar, but I did believe in this particular case, we would get an upset and David would actually beat Goliath, David being me. But, you know, there's a reason why that story in the Bible worked out exactly as it did in the Bible, where Goliath wins, because he was much bigger than David, and in reality, a slingshot doesn't do nothing against the Goliath, against the giant, against the Nephilim, whatever you want to call it. Again, not a biblical scholar, but you guys know what I mean. You guys know what I'm talking about. You guys know where I'm coming from. But yeah, this is where I'm going to leave it right here. Again, I will say thank you. I appreciate you guys for all the money that you did not donate to my...
Leave it to conservatives to be the most unfunny people of all time. It's easy to do nothing, but it's hard to forgive.